Device access. Okay. Oh, click here to reconnect to your destination. Fucking Facebook. All right. Hold on. I gotta check this. Well, I guess we're not going live on my Facebook today. I don't guess. Hold on.
Well,
All right. Well, we're live on in my Facebook group and on YouTube. So we'll have to fix the Facebook page thing later or whatever. It can't tell me in the middle of going live. Oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and stream you to your YouTube and then your Facebook group, but we're not gonna go live on your page. That makes a whole lot of sense. Awesome. So, all right, man. So, how you doing,
I'm good, man. About yourself?
bruh? Like the view where you at? Like that's dope. Love the pool.
Right,
Freaking,
right.
uh, absolutely,
Loving Miami, man. Loving Miami.
man. What's the temperature over there right now?
Hot as shit.
Yeah. Nice,
Right.
nice. Yeah. Um, so all right. This is Lon Wilkinson, one of my friends. We met how long ago, Lon? When was
Oh
this?
man, I guess it had to be over 2 years ago because you done the event for the last 2 years. So it was, I would say, a couple of months before the first set 22.
Yeah. Right before the lockdown. Right. Or was it right in the middle of it? Right. We met.
Yeah,
We met.
right
It
in the
was
middle of it.
during right in the middle
It
of
was
it, right
during
in probably around March or something like that. Um, so we met in the gym. The first day, I remember seeing you, and you were doing like freaking 500 box jumps,
Yeah,
and I was like, bro,
yeah.
this dude is a fucking psychopath, right? I'm like, man, this, and I feel like we had a lot of similarities in our mentality and stuff like that. The way that we train, I mean, we both come a long way and stuff like that, but uh, doing going like outside the box and like the type of training that you were doing, and how did you like how did you get to that point of like knowing that was the kind of training that you want to do? You just want to go like do outlandish stuff of like 500 box jumps. People don't just go and do 500 box jumps for like a warm up for their workout. Like what what helped you get to the point, or like what do you think about that, right? Like
Well, I think the biggest thing is having having a goal before you start training, having something that you're training for. Because I've trained people. I've been a dance instructor for 25 years and trained people to do, for all different kinds of things that they wanted to do. I also did martial arts and whatnot like that. So I've been with people, training and going in the gym a lot. A lot of what I did in dance was pick people up. It's called theater arts. So you're picking people up, spin them in the air and around your head and whatnot like that. So, um, but being in the gym pretty much all my life, I see people go in and they just want to look a particular way. Now they don't know why that person that they're wanting to look like looks the way they look. So, and if somebody has really come a long way with their physique or have an athletic body, it's because they have something that they're wanting to do, right? And if you don't have a goal for it, it's the training to get to a level to where people notice you and people are like, wow, that's impressive, is a lot of damn work. It's like for 10,000 easy payments to do the fucking work, you can have the body you want, right? But most people aren't willing to go that far. So I've always trained for whatever it is I got coming up next, whether that be a Spartan race or whether it be a competition that I was doing, or whatever the very next thing was. That's the way I trained, and it was like whatever was the weakest link, I trained the hardest.
yeah, I agree with that. Man, what is this? I had this pop up that just kept popping up about the damn Facebook thing, and Jesus Christ. So, um, man, after you got done with the with the box jumps, and you did this the flag staff.
Oh
That's
yeah,
one of
human flag. Yeah.
that the amount of strength that it takes to do something like that is pretty incredible. It's something you got to train for. It's kind of like you had to have that as a goal at one point in time of like being able to get to that, to be able to kind of have that endurance to. I mean, I don't see you do it all the time, but I think you were just more like just kind of showing me some of the things that you could do or whatever. You know what I mean? But like to have that, you have to exercise that, right? You have to get to a point of like setting that as a goal, getting to there, and then being
Yeah,
able
I
to.
mean, the smart thing to do in something like that is to do it, progressively. Is to, to have again. I had a goal in that, so yeah, I would say it all goes to value, you know, and that's something that we had talked about quite a few times, especially in your journey, right? So, from taking the set 22 to a small event to the event that it is now, where you have more people, you have more veterans with their service dogs at your event than you did people at your event the first year at the end of the event, right? And
Yeah.
this year you had a lot of people there, a lot of supporters, and it's because you're creating a lot of value in what it is you're doing. And for me, in dance, I was teaching students, and the easiest way for me to kind of get connected with people, because it was not, initially easy for me to just go up, walk up and talk to people. Now, dancing made that a whole lot easier, being a dance instructor, and I owned studios, ran studios and whatnot like that. So I had to get comfortable just going up to people and talking to them. But, to meet new people and interact with people, when you do shit like 500 box jumps, or you do a human flag, or you do um, muscle up, 30 muscle ups in a row, people are going to walk up to you. And they're going to be like, what in the hell are you doing that for? Because that is just not normal that anybody would want to do that.
Because I
So it
feel like
gives
people
me an
just don't
open.
set their goals big enough,
No, I mean, and I had it because a lot of the stuff that I was doing was, spinning people around my neck. I had to be really, really strong, and I had to be prepared for um, shit not to go right. Because when you got another human being spinning around your neck,
You're
you don't
responsible
want
for
that.
a whole nother
You're
person. So
responsible for that person not hitting the ground first off, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to freak out. You don't know if they're going to get dizzy. Because the girls are spinning, spinning, spinning. When you're dancing, right? Because they'll be spinning around your neck, and while you're turning, doing turns, right? So there's a chance they're going to get dizzy or come off balance, and then you just got to be prepared for it. So I had to train my body to do just whatever, right?
yeah.
And be super strong in every direction.
So I would say, to obviously, if you're going to be doing something where people are spinning around your neck, it's going to take time to do something like that. It's going to take, several years of consistency. How long would you say you were in dance?
I was teaching dance for 25 years.
25 years.
A little over. I've taught for a little over maybe 26 years, something like that.
A lot
Yeah,
of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of staying on the
a
path
lot of
and
time.
stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, it was like when you were talking about your training, or not the training, right? About having people spinning around your neck, twirling people around, all this stuff. You have a responsibility to protect that other person because they're depending on your strength. They're depending on your training. They're hoping that your accountability was good enough that you're going to be able to take care of them. So they have this immense amount of trust in you. So I think that's one of the things why I like to train so hard. And I made a post about this the other day about my training is not just about myself. Okay, so set 22, for example, right? That event helps raise money for veterans to help them get service animals or whatever. Like, it's not going to stay the same thing with service animals. We're going to kind of change it around a little bit. But my fitness, I feel like, and I'm going into this, I get like the chicken skin a little bit, but other people depend on how I take care of myself. It might not feed you and like pay your bills, but it might take care of somebody else's life, right? Like it might,
Sure.
and it's the same thing for you, right? Like it takes care of somebody else's life. It allows other people to not just learn, but but be but be safe, be able to work on things, be able to practice things and stuff like that. Do you like? How do you feel like when you train? Is that like kind of like the mindset that you have going into it, or like? Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, so once COVID hit, all the competition shut down for a while. During that, and during that time period, I transitioned over from dancing because you can't do that anymore, to doing photography and videography because it was something that I already had a passion for, and I did computer graphics, graphic design. Um, so I did that for a company. Learned very quickly because I had never had a desk job in my life. I learned very quickly that that was not a thing for me. I could not. I couldn't sit still like that. Yeah, I would normally teach. I'd be in the studio 10, 12 hours a day minimum, right? And I would easily teach 10 hours. And then I would train with my partner a couple of hours, two, three, four, just depending on what we had coming up, right? So now I'm not doing as much of that. I'm not competing right now, and but I had to compete. I had to compete in something. So that's when I started doing Spartan races and stuff like that. I have to be in that physical condition. Um, and it's a value, again, it's a value thing. And it affects your confidence massively. Yeah, depending on, no matter what you're doing, like in photography, I take what I do, anything that I do, very seriously. So I immediately, when I switched to photography, got high level camera and all the things that I needed. And I started taking classes from masters, and that's part of the reason I moved to Miami. Um, Down here, I had access to so many teachers and so many other photographers because it's very, very, I can't stress enough how important it is to build value in yourself. And I think a lot of people like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know, how to do this or how to do that. Um, Value is the number one thing. And like going to school, you're going to build value. Your value going to school and going to college is you get put into the machine of the economy, which is valuable. We got to have roads. If we can get you to where you can get a job, make money, and pay taxes, then taxes take care of a lot of things and whatnot like that. Yeah, sure. But as far as being happy in life, um, wait, where's your value? What do you have? I think the first thing you need to do to build value in yourself and build confidence in yourself is to get in the gym. Get in shape, get in physical condition. If you're not in good physical condition, everything falls apart. Your mental focus, your clarity, your energy, and then you want to get with a person. I think, it's funny. I've always, I mentor a lot of different people. And one of the things I say to them, especially if I'm talking to guys, I'm like, look, if the girl takes her clothes off and you're like, damn, she looks amazing, right? And you take your clothes off, she's like, damn.
Not so much.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not good, right? So, I mean, I don't think you should expect, um, I really don't think that you should expect that somebody should just accept you. For what? You say, well, you accept me for who I am. Why? Right? You should always be progressing. You know, it's like, people
Yeah,
say,
if you just
don't
staying
change.
stagnant, man. If you just
Don't
there's
change. Well, change is the only constant. You're
I don't
always going to change. You're always
yeah.
going to change. You got to be changing, right?
Mhm.
And to be able to change, it's like it's not survival of the fittest. It's survival of the most adaptable. But the
Mm.
fittest are generally the most adaptable, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it is survival of the most adaptable. You have to adapt to the change, and to be able to adapt to the change and the things that happen, you've got to be in good physical condition, right? And the more adaptable you want to be, the higher the physical condition, And for me, all my life with dancing and martial arts and whatnot, is I had to be at a very high level of physical condition. to be able to do whatever it was that was coming. Plus, you're gonna get injured. That's just simple. You're gonna get injured. You're gonna get hurt, and you got to recover. And your recovery time is going to be largely dependent upon your physical condition before you got hurt, right? Um, like one of the reasons that I didn't jump right back into dance is because I had a labrum release on the back of my shoulder, right, from picking people up with one hand over and over and over and over again. Um, it was like a pitcher's injury, right? So I got to a point where I couldn't even take my shirt off because my arm wouldn't come up above like that. I couldn't do that. Right? I had a couple of shots in my shoulder and a bunch of physical therapy, and I'm good. I'm back good again. But it took a while to do that, but it was because I understood my body pretty good. The physical therapist was like, wow, you really recover much quicker than what we're used to seeing. And you understand your body a lot better. But it's because I practiced it. It's not just something that you get. It's a value that I built into myself through lots and lots of training, lots and lots of practice. You got to become valuable. No, that's so important.
I think that's a great way to invest in yourself. I mean, it's like, I think it's one of the most important things to invest in yourself. One of the things that I've heard Andy Frisella say, and it might not be verbatim, but it's very close, is you can be killing it in business. And if your physical being is lacking, if you're not investing in yourself fully, you're missing out on a lot of business. Like,
For
because
sure.
how you do one thing, you do everything. So if you look sloppy, you're going to be sloppy in some areas of business. It always spills over into everything else. How you do one thing, you're going to do all things. Like if you're going to
For sure.
half-ass things over here to a certain degree, like if you're not extremely, now what I mean by that is like, yes, if you are extremely passionate about this and you're unbalanced, I think being unbalanced is extremely important, of focusing all your energy into one thing. It's kind of how I got my fitness level to where it is in the time that it took. Right now, once I started to once I got to where I wanted to be, then I kind of started working on some other things more. I started journaling and reading a whole lot more
Sure.
and doing this and like kind of just, again, adding value in different areas. But I knew first I wanted to look and feel my best. That would be my immediate, if I'm in really good shape, then that shows not just confidence. And I wasn't very confident. Man, dude, when I first met you, dude, I was still very, very lost,
Yeah,
like
you were a
in
different
who I
person
was.
than you are.
You know,
You were a different person then than you are now. But still, I mean, but you still look like a monster. It was like when I first met you, I came back. I was talking to somebody about you, and they're like, "Oh, what'd you do today?" And I told them I was like, I met this dude that looked. They were like, "All right, yeah." I say he's a monster. What does he look like? I say he looks like Jesus and Grizzly Adams put together. And he's freaking huge. He's got this beard. It's like it's hilarious, man.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the building value thing is such a big deal because people are going to judge you as people, this whole movement of, you know, participation awards and don't judge me. And there's like, man, come on. Such a bunch of bullshit. Everybody's judging everybody every second.
The second that you meet
Oh
somebody,
man,
they
as soon as
immediately
you see
judge you.
somebody, you judge them.
Yeah.
And anybody that says that they're not is full of shit.
Check
That's
this out.
just the reality of it.
Dude, you know what's funny is that when you say that, one of the things that I think about is like when somebody talks about walking into a room and the energy that they feel, you're basically judging everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
you're
saying? You're
judging every
judging
single
something,
person
right?
in
So,
there.
so don't fall into that like Zen yoga
Yeah,
like trap, right?
Well, it's like this is a judgment-free zone. It's like that's bull. There's no such thing. That's such bullshit. That's just weak ass people wanting to stay weak. Wanting to have
Yeah.
excuses for shit. It's like, come on, man. Everybody's judging everybody because if you didn't, you wouldn't know whether it was safe for you to be there or not. It's like, oh well, only God can judge me. Oh, whatever, man. Get the hell out of here. Well, you ain't Tupac. Shut up. Right? It's like you need to come on.
Everybody want to be
It's like, nobody knows none of that shit. It's yes, you're being judged for sure, right? And people are going to judge you by the way that you look and the way that you act and the way that you talk and the way that you dress. Yes, to know whether or not they should be safe talking to you, or whether they should go the other direction for their safety. And when you're talking about opportunities, it's like, oh, how do I get the girl? How do I get the job? How do I get those friends? How do I hang out with those people? Well, they're all going to judge you when they see you. So
Yeah.
you need to build value in yourself. And when you go into the gym and you look like you have some dedication, one of the first things people are going to see is say, "Oh, that looks like a
Work ethic.
dedicated motherfucker right there," right? And
Yeah.
it's that work ethic, that dedication that they see in you. They
When you
know.
have consistency and dedication to something,
Like, I don't give a shit, man. When they see you in great physical condition, it's like the dedication is unquestionable. You
right.
can't bullshit that.
No, because you can do
You can
what
throw
you
as much
do
money on the
when
table as
nobody
you
else.
want to, but you can't
Yeah.
just instantly look like
You can't go to Walmart and
somebody
buy a
that's in
body.
shape.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right.
what I was teaching when I was teaching dance all the time. Is I was not teaching people how to do the fucking foxtrot. I was teaching them how to have confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
I got one of the biggest compliments I ever got was from one of my young students, right? Because I mainly taught people that were like 30 plus, right? That was the majority of our clientele. But I taught some kids. I had a handful of kids that I taught and competed with. And one of the girls she was about 14 at this time. And I asked her, I said, what is the single most important thing that you feel that I have given you or taught you through the lessons that we've had? And I've taught her about a year and a half at this time. And she said, to have a voice. And I said, shit, man, that's for me as a teacher. I was like, that's one of the largest compliments I ever got, because that means she had enough confidence to speak up and be able to show who she was, because, she was very, very shy, when I first met her, barely talked, right? But she, very sweet girl. That was the big thing.
Yeah. And dude, I've had, through my journey, it didn't take me 25 years to hear something like that, but through being vulnerable and, sharing my story and stuff like that, like I've had people walk up to me, or not just walk up, but like after speaking to a group or something like that, or just through my DMs, and then like getting in my stories, I would connect with people, and then they would, man, dude, what? It's so inspirational, and it's more than just inspiration, because inspiration is one thing. It's one thing to be inspired. It's another thing to do action, right? It's one thing to be like, inspiration is just a feeling that you get. The next thing is execution, is where people lack, so I've had somebody, say something similar to that, man. And like, wanting to work on, sharing their journey as well, wanting to share like their path with like addiction and stuff like that. And they started doing it. They started, going to meetings and stuff like that. And then they use that little platform for a little while to be able to get through the day at like 1. And I was like, hey dude, just hit me up. And look, I'm going down a little rabbit trail, but I was like, hit me up whenever you need. Like, if you need to talk to me, that's another hour that you're sober. If you go to your AA meeting, that's another hour that you're sober. That's 2 hours out of the day that you can kind of like make up that time. I don't really know where I was going with that, but
So is what you're doing for other people. I think is what you were getting to, and it's like all throughout my career, I've had that where people said I was not.
So it's a service work.
To go, service work. Yeah, it's like I wasn't confident to go talk to people. I wasn't confident to do this, because one of the things that you have to do in dance is dance. Something I always suggest for people, ballroom dancing, or any kind of social dancing where salsa bachata. Down here, salsa bachata is everything, right? But to where you can go up and ask somebody, would you like to dance? Right. Because people are so afraid to just go approach someone. And being able to approach somebody and being almost guaranteed that they're going to accept your offer, so, if there's a bunch of guys, if there's any guys listening, to this thing, and they're like, oh, that's a way for me to go hook up with people. So I'm going to give you the first rule of dance. don't be a creepy motherfucker. That's rule number one, right? Just because somebody's gonna say yes, don't let that be like your opportunity to jump in and be creepy as shit. It's like just don't do it, right? Um, but aside from that, back to the value, it's like, if I could say to younger people, especially who are not sure what they need to do, is
I
like,
think everybody should
no,
go through dance in high
everybody,
school or something, dude. They
everybody,
should
like,
have
just
dance in high school
fuck,
for guys.
yeah,
Everybody should have to go through it
yes, it's like go to the
to
gym.
help kids.
Everybody go to the gym or getting some kind of physical thing. If the gym ain't your thing and you just can't get with it, again, oh, this is a big deal too. Every teacher is not a great teacher. Some teachers suck, at anything. It doesn't matter what it is,
Trainers
school
too.
or trainers. Yeah, the teachers, trainers, all the same thing. I remember this in college. I remember there was this one at the beginning of the class, beginning of the year. I always say, everybody come in and sit down and get up. Everybody would sit down and he'd get up and say, okay, I'm just going to be real with everybody. 80% of my class always fails, right? Only 20% of you will pass. I'm gonna tell you, if I was the dean of that college, I'd have fired his ass right there. I mean, that would be it, because that just means you suck as a teacher. You can't tell
Like,
me that
motherfucker, this
80%
ain't
of every single class is stupid.
unless
So
you're
stupid they can't even pass the class.
unless
No,
you're
bro.
an instructor for like special operators or something like that, dude. I mean, you
No,
shouldn't be
you a
expecting
Navy SEAL.
80% failure.
You're in the beginning of a
It
college
means
semester in a
it means you
basic
don't know
class,
how to put
and you're
out
gonna tell me
material.
that 80%? No, you don't know what you're doing. You're not teaching. There's a difference between lecturing and teaching.
Yeah.
Teaching's you're taking you're taking the people and you're training them to do something, right? Based on their needs, wants, and desires, and you kind of just read that, and that's a big deal. But in any class, go to, if you don't, you can go to a gym and take a bunch of Zumba classes and get in shape. I mean, that's just the reality. You can lose weight and feel better about yourself, get more confidence. But the thing is building that confidence, because that's something that somebody's looking at when they're looking to work with you or looking to date you or looking to whatever they want to see that they're safe with you, because somebody who's weak and doesn't have a lot of confidence is looking for somebody to leech on, to latch onto like a little leech. They're energy leeches, right? Because they don't have any confidence themselves. They're looking for somebody to validate them as being valuable, right? So they're going to suck that out of you. And it's like, you want to be with somebody, or you want to be in, a part of a team or a group or whatever. You need to have some confidence. You need to do that by building some value in yourself. Read some books, go to the gym, do some yoga, go to dance, do some things that will give you some skills that are outside of just making money. You got to be able to take care of yourself. You need to understand your body. It's like, take some classes if you need to, pay for them, or just go on YouTube or what the hell ever. But do something so you understand nutrition a little bit. Learn how to cook. You can learn how to cook off YouTube. It's free. But don't not know how to cook, not know how to wash no clothes. You look like shit. You don't have you just don't have any skills. You don't have any real skills. You can make money, but that's it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can't even make money. Maybe the only thing you can do is binge watch Netflix with Cheeto dust all over your fat ass. But and then tell me, oh, everybody has some value. Oh, you should accept me for who I am. You can go fuck off with that. That's some bullshit. I mean, that's just that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
I
That's
think the
okay,
first thing, man, you get into a gym, start talking to people, get uncomfortable. If you can get that uncomfortable to get into the gym, definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, start asking some questions, get a trainer, meet some people, and not
If
everybody's
you don't
perfect
know
in the
anybody,
gym.
if you go to a gym and you don't know
Build yourself
anybody,
a tribe,
go to a
dude.
class. Go to
Yeah.
a class.
Start going to some
because
classes. You'll meet some people. You'll meet some people on your level. You know what I'm saying? Like,
almost everybody in a gym has headphones on at this point. Everybody's trying not to be talked to. Most especially if they
or
if they're in the
serious,
zone, they're
right?
working, they're serious, or these girls, and if it's guys, listen to this. I don't know what your client, who listens to you more, girls or guys, right? The girls that are attractive and look good and that are, because they're busting their ass, definitely got some headphones on. Might not even have them on. They just don't want you to leave them the hell alone, right? So they can get through their workout, right? But if you go to a class, that's different. Because if you go to a class and nobody's got headphones on because they're listening to the instructor, right? And they're going to be like, oh, you're new, people are going to approach you. So you don't even have to do the work. All you have to do is show up, do the class, even if you look stupid. Everybody, if you're not willing to look stupid to start with, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
You don't want it. You don't want it that bad. You don't want it bad if you're not willing to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because everybody did. I'll tell you, when I started ballroom, all right, so I've competed pro. I can throw people in the air and spin them around my head, spin them on my head, pick them up with one hand. When I first started, couldn't do none of that shit. I walked into a ballroom dance studio when I was 18, just turned 18, right? And I'd answered an ad in a newspaper, so that'll tell you a little bit, right?
Oh, that was a social media at that time.
That was social media.
That's social media marketing, dude. Like, I remember that's the only place you used to look for anything. Go ahead. You're right.
Yep. So I walk in there and I'm looking around, and it's a small studio, little small studio, 1,500 square feet, maybe 1,000. It was tiny, and I'm watching these people. It was like a party night, so it was social dancing, and at that point, I'm in a really good physical condition, by then, because I guess I started working out when I was like 14. Right, because I had some kind of bone condition, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to be crippled by the time you're 18 if you don't start working out." So it's just like I had to start, right? So I'm in great physical condition. I'm used to seeing people. The only people that can actually do anything in my mind at that moment, right, is if they're in great physical condition. And I'm watching these people that are in not great physical condition. There's a bunch of average-looking people, right? They're dancing together, and they're not running into each other. And I cannot figure out how the hell this is happening. I'm like, they're going backwards. And I think it looks like they're not even paying attention, but yet they're not slamming into each other. And it's crowded as shit. I'm like, what is this? Like, I have no idea how this is. I cannot figure out how it's working. And that's kind of what intrigued me to start with, is because I didn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. I was like, okay, I have to at least understand how this works. Because these are some average ass people average looking people, right? And they're being able to do this thing that I can't even figure out. So I jumped in there, and because I'd answered an ad in the newspaper to be a teacher, right? They were like, "We'll train you for free, da 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 da, whatever." That's how most instructors become instructors. But yeah, so and then I just kept going. But yeah, it's so important. Learn, just jump in a class anywhere, some kind of class. If you want to meet people, if you're new to the area, if you just want, you got to build value in yourself.
One of the things that kind of is like, I think is so important here is, I think 25 years in dance, and you uproot from here and go directly into this marketing position, and taking on doing the photography, taking on doing the social media, and you weren't a huge social media person. You weren't, like, you started diving into all these things, but you're such a perfectionist, right? Like, you're really, really funny about stuff. Like, you're really good with what you do. Because, I mean, just a couple of times you've done stuff for me with photos and videos and stuff like that. I was like, he gets it. He understands. You are real good with, like, kind of like with judging people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of can figure out the look, and you're real good about, being real particular.
I'm judging people. When I judge people hard, because I judge myself hard.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important,
and
whenever you're hard on yourself,
because I'm really paying attention to, what is the person going to think about this, and that's one of the ways, when I'm teaching, I taught a lot of group classes and I ran a lot of parties. And what we had a very unique setup where I was teaching in Destin, to where I would teach private lessons, and if it were like a party night, right? So we would teach private lessons all day, and then we would run into a group class, and then that group class I would generally teach it, right? And then that would run straight into a party. Well, I had a band, right? Me and two of the other instructors were in the band, so that we already had that set up. So then we would go into playing for the students to dance, and then on our breaks I would DJ the music and we would dance with everybody. So the key thing is you have to judge everybody all the time. You have to see what is their temperature, what is their atmosphere in here. Like, and if I got into a group class and it's, in my mind I was going to teach a particular dance and at a particular level, and then different people showed up for the class that I knew were not going to either enjoy that material or be able to handle that material, I had to change it on the spot and completely redo the whole class. No big deal, right? In my playlist, when I would set up a playlist for a party, I would just continuously adjust that playlist depending on the temperature of the people, because I'm constantly judging them. See, how are they feeling? How are they taking it? It's like DJing, it's what a good DJ does. But having that skill set, being around where you're like, well, on the stuff that I did for you, my mindset was, what are the people going? How are the people going to take this? How do you need to look to come off the way that you want to come off to the people that you're trying to reach? What's your target market? So on and so forth, right? But you have to look a particular way, right? Um, yeah. So yeah. I jumped out of one thing and dove head first into the other thing.
So whenever you started getting your photography equipment, because I remember talking to you about this stuff, and you were getting like really high quality equipment and stuff like that. Um, how did you learn, for the people that might be watching for photography or whatever? How did you figure out what equipment you wanted to go with? How did you figure out? Because when you don't want to just, I guess, like, it goes back to value, right? Like, the equipment that you need, you don't want it to be the cheap stuff, because you want the longevity from it. You want the quality, the longevity, all this other stuff. So how did you figure out what equipment was the best, or like what you needed to be paying attention for when educating
Well,
yourself on it, the equipment and whatever? Like, how did you figure out how to adapt into, I don't want to say adapt into it, but I know you had to have like an intense work ethic, but what did you do? What were the things that you did to figure this
okay,
out?
so honestly, I would never suggest to anybody to do the things the way I did it. That's the reality of it, right?
Once you go through
But
it, though, not
but
to
I
do
know,
that,
but
right?
I know, right? I
Yeah.
know, right? Because you don't know what's important, right? When you first starting something, and I had such, for me, it was like I had a status, in any ballroom that I walked into, any studio that I walk into, I instantly have a status because of my skill set,
Yeah.
right? And my skill set is very apparent as soon as I come in, right? I start moving around, and doing the thing, and especially, if I happen to know anybody there and I can, it's just, I start making things happen just out of habit, right? Um, so I want that same status in everything that I do. And to have that status is like, because the status gives you, it gives you, it makes opportunities come available. And that's what value does. So basically, the status is a value thing, right? So value, what it does is it makes opportunities open up, and it makes opportunities open up. Um, the opportunities are bigger. They
Bigger,
don't just
faster.
open themselves up. They're much bigger depending on the value that you bring to the table, right? So mainly you're wanting people to feel safe with you, right? That's the biggest thing. And when people feel like you have a large level of dedication and you have a lot to lose, they feel a little bit safer because they don't feel like you'll be stupid because you have too much to lose if you were to do some dumb shit,
That was
right?
my favorite people to
Um,
sell drugs to.
right. So that was one of the right. That was one of the things in getting the equipment at a high level. It's all right when people see some shit like,
I've got a Sony
several
or I got this
thousand.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
six
this,
thousand dollar camera.
yeah, I got this really expensive camera, the lens and shit, and I can snap a couple of pictures and show them to you. Yeah, but I mean, I had a lot of things going for me at that point. I had it's easy for me to approach somebody because I've been doing that for the majority of my life, right? It's easy for me to pick out people, and that's part of judging people. When you say, okay, well, you judge people. Yeah, absolutely. I had a buddy of mine he's a photographer, and um, we were doing this together for a little while, right? He came down and visited me, and we were doing this together for a little while. And he would pick out people to go um, try to get. We were doing a bunch of street photography just for practice, to try out some new things. We got some new cameras, some new stuff. We were trying out some new techniques, so we decided to do a bunch of street photography. And he'd be like, "What about this person? What about that person?" I'm like, "Yeah, go over that." I would say, yes or no. And sometimes, a lot of times, I'll be like, no, I wouldn't pick that person. He would go over there anyway. They just tell him no. He's like, no one's told you no yet. And this is like a month in. I say, well, it's not necessarily because of me that they're not saying no. It's because I'm judging who it is, before I just walk over there to them. I'm picking out the people that I know will say yes.
Yeah.
Right. Based on what I see, So as far as what your question was, what would I tell somebody is, how you did research. I mean, a lot of the research was, um, watching a bunch of YouTube videos and whatnot like that. But if somebody wanted to get into photography, what I would suggest is first learn the basics of what they're wanting to do with their photography. And if they didn't know what that was, basic things, you're going to have to understand composition, and you're going to have to understand lighting. And if you understood those two things first, you could do that shit with an iPhone.
Yeah.
And then you could figure out what you wanted to take pictures of. If you wanted to upgrade a little bit, you would get something like a moment case or some kind of case that would allow you to put a hand, or you could just get a little cage for your phone and put a handle on it. So it looks like, oh, you got a more professional looking setup. It looks like you're a little bit more serious. Yep. Look, the reality is, do street photography. Everybody wants to see themselves look good, right? And if you're in a tourist area or you go to a place where people are standing there, just pretty much anywhere where there's going to be sunrise, sunset, which is the best places to take pictures, and mainly sunset. People are going to be taking pictures places, especially if you're in a city. Go to the place in the city where the sun sets, and people are snapping shots, and say, "Hey, let me get that shot for you," right? And have your Instagram account set up, and say, "Hey, I'll take these pictures for you if I can, if I can use them on my Instagram, I'm gonna put them on my Instagram." You give them to them, or there's so many different ways to do it. But the thing is, that gives you something to practice on. Some people.
Well, that gives you that definitely
that you want to practice with, right? It gives you an opportunity to connect with people, right? It gives you an opportunity to get more followers on your Instagram.
Networking 101, man.
Yeah. Networking, right? There's a lot of things that it does, and it gives you an opportunity to practice and see, kind of what your thing is, because depending on what it is that you want to take photos of, if you're going to be a photographer, it's depending on what kind of camera you need and what kind of lens you need, right? Yeah. I mean, that's just, that's basic. You might want to do more.
That's pretty much your foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to do more video type stuff, people say, oh, you can do the same shit with a iPhone as you can a camera. That's a bunch of bullshit, right? It's just not true. That's not reality, not at a professional level. There's lots of stuff that you can do with a phone, any kind of phone, provided you have good light. As soon as you start taking the light away, you're going to see the difference between a camera and a phone, right? Because, you could just say, well, you're going to have to add light to a real camera. Yeah, you are. But a phone don't use flash the same way that a camera does, right? A real camera. So, it just depends on what you get into. It's all those kind of things.
Go learn. They got some wild,
take some fucking classes, man. That's what I do. I go to this photography store that has a bunch of classes, and they have this thing where it's like a meet and greet. I forget what they call it, boozy. Boozy Friday or some shit like that. So what it is basically you get like 4 or 5 models that come in there, and you pay as a photographer. You come in and you pay like and by photographer I mean somebody who has a camera and wants to take some pictures, right? You don't have to have no cards or anything like that. You just show up, pay $25, and you got like a few hours that you could sit and shoot these models in a professional setting with professional lighting. And they already know all their shit. And they're going to give you their Instagram and all this kind of stuff. And you can take pictures of them and you can connect with them, connect with all the other photographers in the area, see, what they're doing, how they're taking the pictures, all this kind of shit. I mean, and that's true for pretty much anything you want to do. I mean, there's, if you want to be like somebody or a particular way, or you think you would like to try some shit out, find out where the people that are already doing that are hanging out and go over there, right? Or you say, well, everybody that's a high performer, I would say everybody, the majority, top, 98% of people that are high performers work out. Simple.
I mean, yeah, that's just investment of self.
So go to the gym.
You
want to meet some high performing people, go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people cannot. They just, like my girlfriend, she cannot work out by herself. She cannot, is not going to do it, will not do it. It just isn't. And she's a beast. She's
she was one of the toughest people in the class. I know that.
For a little bit. She did this Orange Theory thing down here. She did this Orange Theory thing, right? And it was like several Orange Theories, and it's called a dry try. And she won it. She beat the girl by like 12 seconds. The other was another chick, but it was not just girls. It was girls and guys. She won the whole damn thing. And she's tough as shit, but she is not going to work out by herself. She got to be in a class with some other people. So go join these classes is a great way for you to meet high performers. And these people will talk. She knows all these people from her little Orange Theory class and all that shit, right? These are people that she would never have just met regularly.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you're going to get around these people and, it gives you something because she's extremely competitive and
very, very competitive.
So you're next to anybody and it kind of gives you a base of like, it gives you somewhere to like, picture, kind of gauge yourself, give you a base of where you're at. And you're like, oh, okay, gives you your progression. Are you getting better? Are you getting worse? Nobody stays the same. And if you are staying the same, then that means you're basically getting worse. So there is no in between the lines. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. There's not like it's next to impossible because if you're sitting still, then you're just wasting time. That's what staying the same is. Staying the same is wasting the time.
Yeah, I would say advice to people. I would say, look, okay, so I'll give you a strategy real quick. Okay, I have different certifications and stuff like a yoga instructor and Reiki. Wow, that was a lot of light. I just turned very, very Oompa Loompa orange on screen.
It adapted quick though,
right? Yeah. So anyway, I do Reiki, I do yoga, right? And that in and of itself, it gives you, because I have those certifications, going into like a yoga studio gives me a certain, I would say status to a degree. It's like, okay, most especially because I'll go in that class and very quickly I will outperform the majority of the people in that class. Now I've never been to, I would just pick a yoga class, right, or yoga studio. Now, how can I say that I would do that? Well, first, I'm in good physical condition. Secondly, I'll just outwork them. I mean, just simple. I'll see what they're doing. I'll see, and I'll just do it until I can get it. That was the 500 box jumps type thing. It's the muscle ups. It's the human flag. Look, I'll just see what they're doing, and I'll be the top performer in the class, or very, very, very close to top performer in the class, no matter what it is. Now, I may not be the most flexible, but I'll definitely, as far as being able to execute and being able to survive a hot yoga class, right? I'll do it. So I have certifications, and then I have, what I'll do physically. So I want to stand out. My main thing is stand out. Okay. Well, if I'm standing out, what are people going to do? They're going to come talk to you. right? So if I got a photography business and I want to promote my photography business, I go to something where I can stand out, where there's a lot of people that I can network with, and I've got an instant pool of people that are willing to help me because when you go to classes like yoga and stuff like that, you're getting into a community, and that community is very much about helping each other.
Helping and
Just like
supporting. Yeah.
these fitness things, everybody want to support everybody and help everybody because they see you got goals and they want to help you reach those goals, right? So like, what do you do? Oh, can I help, right? And a lot of these classes that people are going to go to, a lot of these people are let me get the mosquitoes out here now, are business owners, right? So if they're business owners, they need different stuff. Well, you can see the mosquitoes that time on screen, some big ass mosquitoes down here. Yeah, so there you go. You want to know how to network? That's it. Find something that you can go in, you can excel at, that has a group of people that would be beneficial to what it is that you're trying to either sell or jump into, or whatever, and jump in there with them.
Well, I
Because
think.
you could try to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna just say that because you were talking about business people being in like a lot of group stuff, right? Like, because
Yep,
there's
yep, yep.
typically your business
They're
oriented
networking.
people. It's networking, and I think it's
They
like
know.
it's efficiency on time, right? Because the whole way to the gym or the whole way to wherever, if they're doing a group setting, right, it's because they don't want to have a plan. So they get there, everything's laid out for them. All they have to do
Yep,
is get there and
yep.
execute. The same thing that they do in business. They tell people what to do all day long. And that's their period of time where they want to be told what to do. Look, hey, look, boom, I ain't got to think about anything. All I got to do is show up and work on myself. All I have to do is be present, be mindful. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to plan this. I'm planning all this other stuff. So that's why you go to group things. Hey, if there's something that other people are better at, leave it to other people to be better at. Like, I like to, like, if this is not some certain things I don't think are my strong suit, I don't want to waste time learning that because there's so much other stuff that I have to focus on. So I would rather pay somebody because I have no interest in doing that. So,
Yep,
and that's just
yep.
kind of like my thing. I mean, it's just making sure that I stay efficient and being around the right people. And I do a lot of group stuff. Like, I don't have a trainer per se, but I know what I need to be involved in. I know
But it's
what's gonna,
quickly. It allows you to find the people that you connect with quickly.
yeah, dude.
Right?
Like, I
It's
mean,
like you
there's
can
gonna
go
be
into
the
that
people,
group and you're like elimination or yes, I need to be here very quickly,
right?
right? And the thing is, like, if you're in that, if you're in somebody's group, you become part of that family, and
Yeah,
understand that they see you. These people see you more often than they do most of their family. Like if it's not their immediate like husband, wife, kids, then they probably see you more than they do their mama, right? And their aunts,
yeah,
uncles, cousins, all that kind of shit. They see you more often than they do their family. So you become family. You become the family that you. It's like you can't, you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends, and that becomes the family that you chose, type deal, right? And people are more apt to help that because why? Because I could ditch your ass. You're not actually related to me. You're not my child that I can't just get rid of, right? Um, so there's that level of you have to perform to be recognized, and I think it becomes a competition. It's like a friendly competition. It's like you're in that group. It's a family type thing, and you're in competition with each other, but you're helping push each other, and it's everything that you would want an actual family to be. Hell, most of the time, the family that you build at these group classes and stuff like that is how you wish your family at home was.
mhm,
It's smoother than your home life a lot of times.
yeah.
Yeah, because everybody's working for it. Everybody's putting in.
And I think when you have your gym fam or you have like whatever fam, your communities and stuff like that. I'm part of so many different. I've like my community diversity is so wild. I mean, like from like ballet to yoga to I mean, just like
Yep.
all kinds. And like your family. I feel like a lot of people's family enables them more than really actually helps. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your blood family can hinder a lot of things,
and it's
more than
out of
it helps
love, but
things.
just like it just kind of doing things wrong.
Well,
You
I
know what
think
I'm
it's
saying?
not even so much out of love at it, just they don't know. They don't, a lot of people don't get it, because you may have a pretty big family, all right, and everybody has different interests. And I'll tell you this: it's something that we discussed, before. It's like anytime the spotlight shines on you, that spotlight is shining hot and bright on what everybody else around you isn't doing, right?
Yeah.
So that's why people, I was, oh man, I was getting so much love and support when I first started. It's like, you need to get in shape. I'm worried about your health, baby. Do something to get in shape. You go to, and then you get in there and it's like, you start actually looking good. It's like, who are you trying to impress? It's like, oh, fuck, a few months ago, you were the one that told me to get this damn membership. And now you're telling me, why am I going so much? Because who am I trying to impress? Right? Because you're like, oh, you look fine, you look whatever, because now they're worried that they'll lose you because now they're not willing to, they think, oh, well, now you starting to look better than I do, and maybe somebody else is going to want you, and whatever. It's like all the people at the gym are just going to keep supporting you because shit, they're in there killing it too. They're in there crushing it too, and that's
Trying to
what
do the same
you
thing.
see. Sometimes your regular family is going to be the ones. That's why you hear it all the time on these motivational things. They say, your family is going to be the ones that trip you up the quickest. Your friends,
Well, I think a lot of people
that
just don't
aren't going
understand the
with you,
journey.
the friends that
Like,
aren't going with you are going
right.
to be, yeah. I mean, but here's the thing: it's like, did you really pick those friends? It's like when you hear, oh, remember where you came from. Who gives a fuck where you came from? Like, did you put yourself there? Where you came from? Is that where did you pick where you came from? You didn't pick where you came from. You get to pick where you're going, right? So who cares where you came from? Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Why are you even worried about it?
Yeah. Well,
Focus on where you're going. Don't focus on where you came from,
I
right?
think there's a dichotomy to that a little bit on like, so whenever from myself, whenever I'm remembering where I came from, it's to remember where the fuck I don't want to go back to. You know
Well,
what I'm
I
saying? So
mean,
I
the thing
fight
is,
10 times
yeah,
harder
but the
to
thing
go
is,
forward, right?
yeah, and I get that. But the thing is, the reality of it, you could never go back. You
Right.
could never go back because that's, starting somewhere like that. It's like you can't unlearn all the shit that you learned. You can't just unlearn it, right? So better. You know better now. The reason that you did all the shit that you did, if it was stuff that you didn't, aren't proud of or wouldn't do again, it's like, but then again, it's stuff that you wouldn't do again. So it's not like you can't go back, right? And I have that. Like I'm from, one of my biggest things is being around where people are poor. And it's kind of country because that's where I was, you know, and that's where some of the worst experiences that I had was. Yeah, so anytime that I drive through a little town that's like this old country ass, I'll say country, but country little town, a little small
Why are you talking
places.
about my
Like
people, bro?
I drive through there so goddamn fast, bro. I hit the speed limit because I know there's speed traps, right? But
The
you can
motherfuckers
believe
want
my
to keep
ass.
you there. That's
Yeah,
why.
you can believe my ass ain't stopping, bro. You can believe my ass ain't stopping. Like, you want to get some gas here, get something to eat? Nope, no, I don't. No, I'm gonna wait till I get to somewhere that's a little bit more populated, a little bit more whatever, right? Because you have that feeling it's like I'm gonna get stuck in it. It's stupid. It's
Yeah.
stupid. It's like I got a new car full of gas. I got a pocket, full of credit cards and money. Is like, oh, where am I going to get? How am I going to get stuck here? That's stupid, right? But you feel like you could go backwards. It's something that triggers something in you, right? And it's just like, oh, I got to get out of here. I got to get
Yeah.
out of here. But it's not. You couldn't never go back. You could never go back. So it's like, remember where you came from. I don't care where I came from. And the people that the friends that you have, it's like, I didn't pick those friends to start with. There's, really, people, when you went to school, it's just who talked to you first. Who was just as uncomfortable as you, and the two uncomfortable motherfuckers ended up talking, and that became your friend, right? You didn't pick these people as if you were picking goals and stuff. You just happened to talk to them and shit like that. And that's why a lot of the people that you were friends with in high school and stuff, if you're not friends with them anymore, that's why they weren't on that journey with you. Even if they were your best friend at that time, man, I mean, it's just simple. You don't have to get rid of people, because a lot of times you'll hear, a lot of this talk on social media and on YouTube. Is like, you're gonna have to get rid of your friends. You're gonna have to get rid of these people, be able to get rid of that, be able to let go of those. And I don't. That's not really true. I mean, all you have to do is figure out what the hell you want to do and start doing it. Because if they're
Yeah.
not doing it with you, they're just not there.
Yeah.
You don't have to cut them. You don't have to get rid of them. You don't have to tell them.
You ain't got to be a dick. Yeah.
No,
You
you don't
just
have to
quit
do
shit.
none of that shit. Just
Yeah.
move forward, right? If they're not at the gym, that's that much time they're not spending with you. If they're not at the next class that you decided to take to advance yourself forward in whatever thing that you wanted to learn, if they're not there, well, that's that much more time that you're not spending with them. But now you're spending it with people that are in a class that are moving towards the same direction with you, and you fade away, and that's okay. It doesn't
Yeah.
take away from how good it was, right? It just, okay, next chapter, turn the page, man.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna shift focus a little bit. Do you have any big upcoming goals or events or anything like that? I know. So we just did set 22.
Yep.
We have the MD Turbines Veterans Day fundraiser and relay challenge, which
Veterans
is
Day
in
fundraiser
November.
relay challenge. Yeah, that'll be November, I believe the 5th. First, I
I
think it's
I
the
think
5th.
so. It's the first weekend.
Yeah, first weekend. So
That was
that's something.
something else that I wanted to ask you about, man. That
Uh,
I forgot about was like, do you find, and we'll shift right back into those stuff in a second,
sure.
but um, do you find that whenever like you did parties or dance or event, that kind of stuff, do you see, is there a lot of resemblance between that and actually like setting up the type of events that we are doing now? Because this is something else that we weren't doing before. I mean, because obviously I've never
Yeah,
set up an event. So like getting to the point where I'm at now, I'm like, man, I learned so much, not just about myself, but how to like bring people together. So like, what's the relation or like, how would you talk about or discuss that or like think about that? Or what's the relation between the two, if there is any?
well, I mean,
Or
setting up
does
an
that even
event,
make sense what I said?
it makes sense where you're coming from, for sure. I mean, it makes sense as a question, for sure. Um, in dance, what I'm trying to do is um, control atmosphere. That's the biggest thing I'm doing, especially if I'm setting up for an event, a dance event. My main focus and goal is control atmosphere. I want everybody to have a good time, um, and I want everybody to build some confidence in themselves. Now, setting up an event, it depends. Like for the Veterans Day event, is a little bit different than say it would be a Spartan race. Even though a Spartan race, I think, is very similar. And because the Veterans Day is uh, a relay event, a relay challenge event, and a Spartan race is kind of the same direction, right? But um, I would say Spartan race is very much closer to one of my dance events, where it's building people's confidence and having controlling atmosphere and getting all the rah rah going. At a Veterans Day event like we're doing, I think the focus is, because it's for a particular cause, is, yeah, still getting the atmosphere up and getting building people's confidence, but it's more networking. One of those events that we're setting up, our Veterans Day and fundraiser and relay challenge is definitely a large networking opportunity and an awareness. I think to bring awareness to whatever um,
The awareness to the cause.
whatever the cause is, whatever it happens to be, because the MD Turbines Foundation is who hosts it, but it may be for Pause for Warriors, or it may be for his house, which is like um, an orphanage for children, you
Yeah.
know, Cakes for Kids, or whatever it is, whoever's benefiting from it. That's what we're trying to do, is bring a lot of awareness. So it's a networking opportunity for different companies to come together, different veterans, and to meet each other and talk to each other and do business together, which is great, because a lot of these aviation companies are veteran owned or have a lot of veterans in them. Some of them are veteran owned and completely veteran ran.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
yeah, so there's a lot of veterans that participate in this thing, and being able to get out there and them see that there's a lot of support because you don't know what they're dealing with. There's a lot of these guys that are, special ops guys and things like that. Have PTSD and TBI just like yourself, and different things where they see there's a bunch of people who are coming out to support them having a better quality of life, right? And I think that's hugely important. One of the things that we've said in a lot of the videos that we put out is our veterans fought for us. It's time we fight for them. I think that's a huge deal is to let the veterans see that we collectively are wanting to make sure that they're taken care of and doing well because so many of them are not. I mean, you cannot lose 18 to 22 a day to suicide alone and say that they're doing pretty good. They're
Bro, and
okay,
I think there's
right?
an additional like I might be a little bit off on these numbers, so whoever's listening, don't quote these numbers, but I feel like there's an additional 30 more overdoses a day in the same community.
Oh, I would
You know what I'm saying? Like,
imagine, yeah,
so
accidental
if you're thinking that,
overdoses.
the what do you think's getting people to that edge, right? Like the drugs, the alcohol, whatever. One of the best decisions that I made, and I'm gonna go right back to that. Like I know that when we set up like set 22 this year, didn't raise the money that we wanted to raise, but we had other massive wins. The networking,
Yeah,
the connection, and
the
you're gonna have
awareness,
that
yeah,
sometimes, right?
for sure.
And the awareness is so important. But what is awareness? Like making sure awareness is also making other people aware that there's other resources out there. It's not just like people like, oh, people know what
That's what the
awareness is.
networking is.
And I'm like,
That's what the
it's not
networking is. It's like, God, that was
that's
such a
the
big
it's
deal.
not just telling people that it's 18 to 22 a day. Get that out of your head. It's trying to show people the other resources that they have so that they know that there's things
That
out there. The more
Yeah,
attention that's brought to
that's just for
people
people to
coming,
know that that's happening. You
like
know,
there was somebody I saw a while back saying like, "Oh, it's enough of awareness. We're taking action." And I'm like, "Well, awareness is action. When you're connecting people, that's what like you're making
that
people
is
aware of more
action.
resources. You're just dumbing it down to like a certain. You're limiting it on the real
Yeah, I mean,
quality of it."
the biggest
And
thing I
the
think
awareness
is
is to
that
raise bringing people together to raise funds to
yeah,
improve
yep,
quality of life.
yep, yep, yep.
That's the so
Yeah, I mean, and the network thing is, people. I think I don't want people to get caught up in thinking the networking means, oh, the business trying to make it's an opportunity for people to make more money. That's not what the networking is. That's not what we're talking about, right? Of course, people that if you're not making money, then how are you going to donate money, right? So yeah, it is an opportunity for people to make money by connecting with each other, which is great because they'll sponsor these things and donate more and whatnot like that and help out better. But the main thing in the networking is things like, okay, so you have the MD Turbines Foundation, which is a foundation that helps primarily veterans and children, right? So we got that, and then you've got um, the guys at First Form, which have a huge outreach, and they see all that and start talking about it. You have the guys at Black Rifle Coffee Company, which are a lot of veterans. They do a lot of veteran things, and now they get together and say, "Hey, would you like to come to our event?" And that's the networking thing. It's like the community
supporting one another.
expands because it's like, "Hey, I got this guy, the Titan, I forget what it's called, Titan something
Tighten
or other.
immersion.
Titan immersion. Okay, so they basically, from what I understood of it, and I don't want to butcher the shit out of it, but um, they put people through this course, like a 4 day or something like that course, to where they help them get from where they're at to where they want to be through releasing the things that are hindering them from getting there, right? to learn, figuring out what's keeping you from moving forward at maybe the rate of speed that you would like to, or kind of what wall that you ran into or whatever, and then removing that, helping you learn, giving you the tool, empowering you with the tools to be able to remove that out of your way, right? So you say, okay, hey guys, it was nice meeting you. Would you like to come to our event? And now you meet a whole bunch of, so it's the awareness and the networking that you do is connecting a lot of these companies to these other companies that have a larger and larger reach. So it's geometric expansion that's happening instead of just what they could do on their own. I mean, it's huge to have these events, right? So, it never was, like we had talked about this year, was not about the amount of money raised. We want to raise enough money to be able to donate to, um, the charity or whatever. But it was mainly about the networking component of it that could bring a lot of these companies together so that they could help each other help more veterans, right? Because there's only so much money that you can raise by yourself, and that you can donate. But when you start putting these companies together, you create a team, you create a community of people reaching out. And it was huge seeing those veterans with their service animals out there, and the look on their faces to see so many people out there supporting a cause that gave them, which is the way that they got their service animals, right?
Yeah.
And to show them that, look, there is a community that is willing to help you and that appreciates you. Because I think, from my understanding, because I'm not a veteran at all by myself, right? But when you go into the military, you have a purpose, a very singular purpose, right? Each mission, you have a very singular purpose, and you have a goal, right? And then you come back, and the degree of purpose and goal is sometimes gone, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, this is what I know how to do, because I think a lot of it was really shocking. People don't take into consideration is these people that are fighting, that are highly trained individuals that are fighting for our freedom. Are out there operating all this, whatever it is that they're operating, if they're on the front line, whatever it is that they're doing, are 18, 19-year-old kids. These are kids, right?
A lot of them,
They
yeah.
fresh out of high school, have done nothing. They don't have any like job experience, like not any real life experience necessarily. They've been in school. They get out of school and they go into the military, and boom, this is what they do. This is who they are. They come back a few years later, and have had to be in combat and done what they had to do in combat, and saw what they've seen, and they come back, and it's just like, it's not the same. They don't have anybody give them orders. They went to school all their life and got told what to do, and then they went into the military and got told what to do, and now they come home and it's like, there ain't nobody to tell you what to do. It's like, you grown now.
Yeah. Well, you
Go
told to
ahead.
suck.
Do
You
your
told
thing.
to suck up. Everything is like, you suck it up, or drive on, or whatever. So when you get to, it's like it's so hard to ask for help, right? Like it's a pride thing. It's all these different things that like come into that, and so you just
Well, giving
when
them those
people,
dogs gives them that purpose again. Giving them those
yeah,
service dogs gives them a purpose. Like, you have to take care of
it
this.
gives them
That's what you
hope,
got to do. You got to take
and
care
that
of this.
dog also looks after them as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As far as like it recognize a bunch of stuff, and um, it's just pretty powerful experience, man. I actually
You've had a service dog, right?
no, I didn't have a
You didn't
service
have a
dog. I had a
service
dog
dog.
trained.
Oh, okay.
It's more like, I guess you could say, emotional support dog. I mean, I had put him through classes and stuff like that, but he did not come from a program like that. It was just classes
Okay.
that I had put him through, like several classes back to back to back. Like I paid all these, trainers and stuff like that, would bringing him to the class, so it actually helped me develop a really good bond through there. But I understand that bond because I did that with my dog. But it's different because they teach the dog a whole lot more commands and stuff like that than my dog knew. My dog knew a bunch of stuff, but these dogs are taught to respond a certain way. And I mean, my dog would protect me, but it wasn't necessarily like doing the things that these dogs do. Like they'll block people for you, or like they'll help like create space and things like that. From some of the stuff that I've seen with how the dogs are trained and all that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see.
It's a special program. It's a
It's
special
very, yeah.
program. It's important.
I may go through it one day, man. I one need to get into a house that um that'll accept us having animals and stuff like that or whatever. It's just kind of like
Yeah.
been a headache with that situation. But um, for everything happens for a reason. So it's all good. Not even tripping on it. You know what I'm saying? When it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. So
Sure. Right now, you're helping a lot of other people get it.
right
So
now I
that's
don't
good.
even have the time to go through a class,
Sure.
and that's fine, right? Like, because I don't want to say that's actually a priority, because I'm actually doing pretty good. I feel like I do pretty good with that. I stay busy. And I'm only getting busier. So that's pretty
Yeah, I
exciting in
want to touch
itself.
on that if you don't mind for a second. It's like so many times, through meeting you and then knowing you in the gym and knowing other people that they either knew you or saw you, they're like, man, yeah, how many? I wonder how many times have you been told that you're doing too much, you're going to hurt yourself, or you're being a little bit too extreme, or don't you think you should back off, or you know, um, and it's like the level is how far you want to go is. It's like in a car. I think how far you want to go is how much fuel do you put in the car. You can't expect the car to go 100 miles if you only put 50 miles worth of fuel in it. And there's certain goals that you have, and that's not what most people have,
Right.
right? So for your goals, you have to train for your goals. You have to train for what it is that you want. That's why you train however you train. Aside from the fact they don't know the shit that you're dealing with, and it's a whole lot better for you to go in there and train like a monster than it is for you to just start ripping people's head off, right?
Right.
Because you can't manage or blow your own head off,
Yeah.
because you can't manage what's going on inside, right? And you know, I know I haven't went through any of that kind of shit, you know, and I have to work out.
Hmm.
I have to work out. If I don't work out, mentally I cannot.
That was when
I cannot.
I actually ran over that. I was actually kind of going into to this direction earlier. Was I started to ask you about any of your upcoming goals. I'll wrap it up here in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you about have you thought about, or what are some of your goals this year? What is some of your, whether it's like small goals that you have coming up? What are some things that you might be training for, or that like you have on your radar? Or
Uh-huh.
I know that you're in the athlete search with First Form.
Yep.
Also, that's one of the things I think that you've been doing to kind of like keep accountability with you. And I also like tag you in my progress photos anytime I throw those up on social media or whatever, just kind of like give that extra nudge of like, hey, yo, look, we still working out here. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, what are like, I have a vision board and I keep it right here, right in front of my setup. So every time I come in here, I see my goals, I see my big goals. These are like, 5 to 10 years down the road. This like $49.5 million in my bank account, like very specific goals, right? You gotta have specific goals.
Yep.
Uh First Form elite athlete. I like I that's it's not in the, like, I'm not there yet, but it's in the bag. Like, I'm coming. They just, like, the banner's on back order right now, but it's coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna have to give me my plate soon. Um, and like book signings, I have like book signing number one top 100 U.S. podcasts on Apple. Like, I have a specific house on here of what I want my house to look like. Like, it's very
Yeah.
specific. So, I was curious the type of motorcycle, RV, and all that stuff that I want. Just big goals, and all these things, I have like a small piece of each one of them. It's like a very, I don't want to say dumbed down, but a very cheap version of all the stuff that I want. The motorcycle, I've got a motorcycle, I've got a truck, I've got but it's the like bare minimum of what I actually want. So it's just going to be like an upgrade thing. So where are you at? Or I'm curious to hear where you are on any of your goals. What are some of your upcoming goals? What do you have for by the end of the year? Maybe this summer. What are some of those goals? Maybe it's physique goals or nutrition goals or training goals or races.
Sure. All right. So, I mean, so one of my things is like, um, as far as goals go, right? I don't have a lot of like material
Yeah.
goals.
Okay.
All right. Now the reason is because um, I think those things, in my opinion, are very easy once you reach a certain level. You
Hmm.
know,
There's
just
it's all going to come.
it'll come, right? So my goals are more uh, building value in myself goals,
Okay.
right? Because it's like I explained to you like this. What's the difference between the guy that makes $50,000 and the guy that makes $1 million in a business, right? It's the guy that makes $1 million. It's his worth, it's his value. Like so, if you have a guy that makes $1 million in a business, it's because he can make a decision that is worth that kind of money. He makes the decision because of the information that he knows, because of his experience, and he can make it quick. And he's spot on. It could take 30 people. You could match him to 30 people doing analytics and running numbers and doing all this shit and trying to come up with what what you should do in your business when this guy can tell you in a few minutes. Now he didn't run all the numbers, he didn't do the analytics, but he looked at the situation and he said, "Go this direction." Now, what does that save you? Well, an office building for 30 people first, right? And all the shit that comes along with it, and that's why he's worth $1 million,
Hmm.
right? So then, to coming back to what you asked me is building the value in myself. So I would say my goals are, I have Reiki certification level 2. There's level 3 until you want to be a teacher, and that's the highest level. So since that's the highest level, I'll just go ahead and go there,
Yeah.
right? So I've already reached out to my teacher that I got the second level from, and I'll go ahead and get the third and the master level teaching level. Um,
So it's basically like
Yoga,
kind of education goals, right?
yeah, some of it it's education goals just so I can have
That's
you know
that.
that kind of, I would say, to some of it is a status, but it's a status because it makes people more comfortable, makes them trust you a little bit more, uh,
Because you're invested in
because
your
you
education.
have that, you invested in yourself, you invested, you earned that,
Hmm.
it's shit that I'm earning. It's like they ain't just going to give it to me,
Hmm.
right? So I may go to some higher levels in yoga uh, training and whatnot like that. I'm about to join a yoga studio that's here close to where I live, mainly because it's a badass studio. It's like they only do hot classes, which is my preferred thing.
Same.
Um, yeah,
I'll
I'm
every once in a while do a lukewarm class or
yeah.
room temperature,
Everybody's
but
what's good for one person is not necessarily good for another, but that's what's good for me. I need it to be intense. I need it to be a hot class, right? But these people are badass in this particular school. I looked them up, watched some videos on them. Like these are close to athletes. Some of them they're pretty badasses. So I want to go over there, um, and then would most probably do a trifecta in a weekend. So I've already last year I did the sprint, super, and ultra of the no, I'm sorry, ultra,
and
the
beast.
sprint, super, and beast, and Spartan race. But I did it, individual races, and I would like to go ahead and do that just over a weekend this time.
Yeah.
Um, just have a little goal, just a little something, knock out, and one day I do the sprint and the super, and the next day do the beast. Whichever way, it doesn't matter to me if it switches first.
Yeah.
Um, and we had talked about doing one. Maybe we'll have to wait till next year because it's coming up too quick. But for Hawaii, or
Yeah.
just somewhere cool,
Yeah.
right? Because I want to do one of the events together with you.
Yeah.
But it's jumping in and doing these things. Going ahead and getting the podcast, cranked back up again. Uh, um,
Speaking of that, where why don't you tell us about the podcast, where to find it at? Uh, you know, give us some information on that.
so yeah, I mean, so I just bought a house, right? Just bought a house, just I don't know, a month ago. Couldn't get the contractor to start. He got tied up. we'll say. So that made me tied up in remodeling the house. So it's put me there every day with the subcontractors because you got to keep a watch on these people. You know, they'll screw your shit up. All right. Already had a couple of little issues, but we got them resolved. So now I'm just there all day and night.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but here soon we'll have it tied up. So I would say in the next couple of weeks I have it tied up, and then I'll be able to get back on my. I have Mentor the Beast is my website, but it's not mentorthebeast.com. I've got it. I just need to get back in there and and do the work to finish putting it together. And I have that as a YouTube channel. Actually, you're on it, and a couple of that was the first video I did, a long time ago.
Hey, talk
Right.
about first podcast ever, like first,
First
like you know what I'm
podcast
saying,
ever.
like first YouTube
Yeah,
interview,
yeah.
and then was that before or after the V one?
Oh, man, I guess that was
I feel like it was before.
shit. I think so. Yeah, it was a long
So I
time.
mean, I had never done anything like that, right? You know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah,
like right in that area. We had like the the podcast that I did with one of my friends, the sports one, the sports show.
that
Remember
was
they did
after. Yeah, that was
that
after.
was after that, yeah. And then we had that one, and then so anyway, yeah, we definitely got to get your channel back up, man. That was like
Yeah, I got
something.
to
That's
get my
a
channel back up and
we have
running
to
and
add
whatnot
that
like
to the
that. So as soon as
goals.
this, I've already got the one of the rooms in the house is an office for this, right? So that'll be set up. But jumping back into all of it as soon as this house is done, which would be like in the next 2 weeks. But hopefully I'll be back up here. Maybe I'll come back on here and we'll talk about that. But I mean, there's so many people, so much support that's coming out from these events that you're doing, and the people that you're connected with. So proud of you, for real,
Thank you.
right? For what you've done, and the awareness that you brought, and just the progress that you made. I mean, like I said, I had you on my podcast, and now you're just like smoke my ass, for real, right? And the amount of shit that you've done in a short amount of time is like, oh, dude, for the equipment that I've got and the stuff I should be doing, God, come on.
But I mean, we
Right.
kind of
That's why I said I wouldn't do it. If I was just somebody else, I would. I could tell you how to do it. I could tell you a way to get you there for sure.
yeah.
Um, without doing what I did.
But if you think about all the stuff, I feel like we've kind of like fed off each other. And this is the beauty about
Yeah.
having the right kind of friends, the right kind of support people, the right kind of people in your circle, is that the podcast thing. I feel like we started kind of like my equipment is nowhere near the quality of yours, but the second
But
that
I'm
you
on your
started doing, I
podcast.
was, but I was like, bro, this motherfucker's moving, dude. So if he's getting his shit up and I'm getting the chip, like that's kind of like that competitive edge of like I felt
Yeah,
like
you
there's
need
just
to have
certain
it.
things you were like pushing me into doing. You're like, hey man, you need to get your own shit. Well, it took a long time for me to get to that point, but once right, bro, it took me until so we were on like the 13th episode, and we had like that's probably like maybe like 3 or 4 months. I think I started in January, but I mean, I'm getting a few in consistently every month. This last 3 weeks, I think it was, I've kind of fell off a little bit, but I was just so
Yeah.
freaking into everything. I have interviews lined up. I've got like 2 or 3 other people that are like, hey, bro, just let me know. I got like 3 other people that literally just waiting for me to call and be like, hey, dude, you ready to do this or what? And same thing. I just get on here and have conversations with people, no script. It was just like you called me before. You were like, "Yo, what do we?" I was like, "We'll figure it out when we get on." So and that's
Yeah.
just like shit. We got like, but I mean, we got good chemistry, dude. We talk, we BS and stuff like that. We've been doing this shit for a minute, but I feel like we push ourselves in our goals. Like you'll see something that maybe I'm doing, you jumped into the athlete search. You know what I'm saying? Like that served me pretty well during this little career jump and stuff like that. And I feel like
Yep.
you have like absolutely leveled up, crushed things, you do phenomenal work with photography and stuff like that. You've always impressing me with the type of and the quality of work that you put out. I feel like you've done nothing but introduce me to people or like bring me around people that leveled me up as well. So it's been it sounds so cliche to say this, but it's been a blessing to have you as not just
No, same here.
a
Same.
friend, but kind of like I really look at you like we don't do money shit together, but I really do look at you like a fucking partner. Like I look at every one of my friends like a part. I really do put people in it. Like this is a business relationship. Yes, we're
Yeah,
friends.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? We're dogs. We dab down. We give each other hugs and stuff like that. But like every friendship is a business. You should look at it like a business relationship to a certain degree of investment. And like, hey, is this
Well, that's part of your
relationship
life,
going to
man. That's
serve
part of
me?
you. Is my friends. I want them to. Okay, so big thing in friends and anybody that the people that are the closest to me is that I may mentor or whatnot like that. It's just like this. If I want to go on a trip and it's going to cost whatever it's going to cost, and it's going to take you having this amount of free time to be able to go on it. I want to make sure that the people that I have close to me and that I like, and want to be around can afford to and have the time to take that trip. Right. So I'm going to push them to succeed and they're going to push me to succeed. And we're going to be able to do this kind of shit together. Right. These are all that's the kind of people you need to keep in your circle, I think.
Right.
Right. If those aren't the kind of people in your circle, and that's one of another reason to stay physically fit is because when if you get to where you can start traveling and whatever, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to want to go do and see and whatnot like that, and it takes energy to do that. I just came back from a few months ago. I went to Aspen, right, and to Snowmass, and dude, I mean, my workouts. I don't think unless you work out the way I do, far what I do, it's not like you're just going to jump in and do one of these workouts, right? I'll kill somebody with one of these workouts. I went to walk up and down that mountain. I thought I was going to fucking die, right? And I was like, God, you're being such a bitch. Just walk up the mountain. Fuck. Right. It's like, but the elevation change and man, it's so different walking
Yeah.
up. Yeah. And I have a little bit of asthma. I'm like, this shit doesn't bother me. I just go, well, I guess when you change elevation and all that kind of, that starts making a difference. Those little things come into play. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, if I tried to do a Spartan race out here, I would fucking die. Right. I did a beast, no problem. I did the beast. I was like, okay, I mean, like I didn't do it timed or anything like that. I did it with a group that I
Right.
was helping, and I would run to the front of the group and take pictures, and I would wait for I'd run back to the other people and help them over the things, and because of the group, and I'd run back to the front, so I'm back and forth, and I'm doing some of the obstacles. I'm doing 2 and 3 times, trying to help people, show them how to do it, or get them through it, or whatever. I'm like my legs, I wouldn't say that I could have done it a full another time. My upper body was just like, fuck, I could do this whole thing again, right?
Yeah.
Man, I could, all right. But being in Aspen, trying to walk up that little mountain, just from where we were staying, and we were like ski in, ski out, so it wasn't very far. It's like not even, I would say, not eighth of a mile, quarter mile, eighth of a mile, down to the little village and back. And walking back, I was just like, shit, I'm gonna die. Right? It was crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
You gotta get in good shape.
So yeah, to be able to really
So
enjoy anything, hiking, whatever, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
to
All the
enjoy it.
fun, all the
I wouldn't
best
have been
things.
able to go out there hike. I would not have been able to go out there, and just like no, I was carrying equipment and shit like that, with me. But still, that ain't nothing but some skis and some boots and shit.
Right.
Carrying a backpack would have been, I would say, probably the same. Right. So it would have been rough. You got to train for it. Train for what you're going to do. That way, when you go, you have a good time.
Yeah.
It's really important. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say as far as building the value is I thought about it from the beginning and then I forgot about it, right? But I watched this thing. It's Logan Paul, I believe it's Logan Paul, the guy that
Yeah.
fought Money Mayweather, right? All right, yeah, okay. So that guy, he has this podcast, whatnot. And I was watching, it was him and these other 2 dudes, and they were talking.
Logan or Jake is one of them.
It was one of the two. One of the
Yeah.
two. But anyway, they went to this place in like the Swiss Alps or something like that, into this town, and where it's like multi-billionaires, right? Millionaires and billionaires. These people are just money people, right? The whole town is built that way. If you ain't got money, you ain't even in that town, right? And they're like, man, it was so surreal because it was like, this is not regular life. This is not how people live. He said these people just, especially the kids, they're like, this is just normal life. This is not normal life, right? So the point is, they went to a dinner. It was $1,500 a plate, and it was like buffet style, but it was $1,500 a plate. And one of the guys that is on his team wouldn't go, right? And even though, I guess it was Logan offered to pay for it, he was like, no, because I don't want. I want to feel like I earned my spot at that table, right? And he's like, okay, I respect that, and I can kind of see where he's coming from. But the thing is, like, I would say look at that from a different perspective. It's like you're there,
right?
You earned your spot.
Yeah, by being
there, like by being first off attached to another YouTuber that's that level. It's like he said, we were kind of like, oh, y'all those YouTube guys, you do something funny, whatever. It's like, but that's value, dude. That's value, because at the end of the day, these people got shit tons of money. Somebody with that much money, they want to be entertained. Like you was saying, it's the same thing when they go to the gym. They don't want to make all those decisions, because they make decisions every day. So what is one of the most important thing to somebody that has that much money and status? It's like entertainment. You're one of the most valuable things that is in that town at that time, right? Because it's like if they even know who you are, it's like they got that much money and they're sitting there watching you on YouTube, right? That is your value. You're bringing entertainment. You're making people feel good. You're giving them something,
right?
That's valuable enough to them for them to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, dude, if that $1,500 didn't like keep you from being able to pay your rent, or even if it did, you should pay it, right? Because you're not paying for the plate of food, and that's what it kind of came off of and maybe that was just to me, but the way he said it, it was like it came off as like he wanted to feel like he was at the level to where $1,500 for a plate of food was okay. And it's like, you're not paying for the plate of food. The plate of food is irrelevant. You're paying for the seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're paying for. The $1,500 is just kind of the ticket in. That's just reality, right? That's your ticket in. You're paying for the networking component, because if you're there, people are going to talk to you, and it's the conversation that you have with the guy beside you that's worth the $1,500, not the food. The food is irrelevant. And that's kind of how I took it. What he was saying is like he wanted to make sure that he was at a level to where he could, say that $1,500 is okay to pay for food. And, like you said, again, that's you missed the point, dude. You should have just paid the money and went in, because you had an opportunity to talk to. It's like, when are you?
Or at least let them pay it. You know what I'm saying? Or right. I mean, I don't want to say it, because if somebody sees
let
the value
pay him
in
and
you,
pay it back. It's fine, right? It's okay.
Like, especially
just if
yeah.
Just take it and figure out a way, because $1,500, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You get that $1,500 back for however, right? But when are you going to be back in that town? Like, you don't live in that town. When are you going to be back around those people?
Right.
And if what you've been trying to do is push for
and just a business relationship with one of those people would probably change your life, right? Like one business transaction could change your whole life, right?
Your whole life. And how many
people? Year for sure.
And if it's changing your life, how many people's life is it changing? If that's what you're in the business of, if you're in the business of changing lives, and those people see that, it's like, do you realize how much money those people have to donate to foundations and charities and shit like that to stay at the tax bracket that makes it, that's feasible for them to do, to keep themselves in the right tax bracket. They donate a lot of money just so they don't have to give it away to the government, right? They're looking, and they've put themselves in a position where they can help people. Like, they look for ways to help people.
Yeah,
and you're sitting right there. You're sitting with the right person. You're sitting with the right person. Yeah. That's why I was talking about going to those classes. It's like, in a class, you might at the end of a class talk to somebody that owns a business, that if you were trying to talk to that same person by going to that business and asking for a job or whatever, you wouldn't make it past the secretary. And then you would have to go to, you know, the manager, and then the vice president, and then the this and the that. It's like by the time that you got to that person, it could be a couple of years.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in class with them. You're their buddy.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. If you
Also,
get out of that,
one fucking class.
yeah,
Like if you get an opportunity, take the opportunity.
right, for sure.
Like that's why you need to be valuable. That was the whole thing about bringing value. Is like, hey, they were the YouTubers that were funny. Like you bring value. You bring value. You're helping people. You're helping other people by bringing value, right? They see that. They recognize that. They want to help you, help others. But if you don't have any value, that's why you need to start building it quick.
Yeah, got to invest in it.
Got to invest in yourself, not by buying a bunch of shit, right? You got to invest in yourself by making yourself knowledgeable, by making yourself look like somebody who's dedicated and people can trust and people feel safe around, you know, and things like that. And you can say, well, you know, if they don't like me for who I am, they can go fuck themselves. Like, man, you need to grow the fuck up. Grow up. Like, really. Like, if somebody's saying, oh, you know, they're judging me because, you know, I'm walking around in here and they keep acting like I'm going to steal something. Because you got clothes on. You got clothes on that are 3 times bigger than the size of your body. What you wearing those clothes for? So you stuff shit inside of them? Now, that may not be what you're going to do. I get that. I totally get that. It just may be your style. But when the last 4 people that stole from those people look like you,
you're gonna get stereotyped.
like if that was your business and you was getting your shit stole, and now you can't pay your rent because your shit keeps getting stole from little assholes walking into your business, how would you react?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna stereotype somebody.
Yeah. I mean, that's fucking facts, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
build value in yourself. Build value in yourself.
Got to. And speaking of value, you have another Instagram page. So this is the name that
So
we have up on the screen.
okay, so yeah, so that's my personal one, right? And it has some stuff like, you know, when I was at the event with you and some of the other events that I do. But Improv Film Productions is my company, is my photography and videography company, right?
Okay.
Here in Miami. So I'm based out of just a little north of Miami, right? Like 30 minutes north, but I go to Miami all the time. So anywhere around Miami, Fort Lauderdale area is, and like I said, Improv Film Productions, you know, .com is the website. I just got it up and going, so it's not everything that it needs to be yet, but the Instagram is the same thing, Improv Film Productions. And you can see some of my work on that, and they can contact me through there very easily.
Right? That was what I was going to ask. I was going to ask.
You need some photography work. You need some pictures done, or you need just
some graphics.
Some graphics. So you need, you know, your business promoter want to talk about that. You know, just reach out to me. I'll take care of you.
But do you prefer people to contact you on one of those platforms? Which platform? Which one do you prefer to be contacted on? Do you prefer to be contacted by email or
Instagram? Instagram, something like that, right? And then if they, you know, and I just like to talk to people. Like, I mean, the first thing I'm going to try to do is get you on a phone call. I'm not going to sit there and email back and forth with you a lot because I just, you know, I want to.
Conversation is everything.
I tend to work with people that I like, you know, that I can get with, you know, what they're trying to do. You know, I'm not just like when I was teaching dance, you know, I taught a whole lot, right? I was always top instructor. That just meant I taught the most lessons, right? So I had a ton of students, right? But I'm not the instructor for everybody, right? If you didn't want to progress and you didn't want to really, you know, set some goals and do some stuff, then I wasn't the instructor for you. And it's kind of like the same thing in photography. It's like, you know, different photographers have different things that they do. Mine is, um, I want to talk to you first. I want to see what is it. What are you trying to do? What do you want?
Yeah,
You just want to
definitely.
look
I
cool.
think
Yeah, we
the
could do
ball
that.
gets dropped a lot
You know,
on text message. So
yeah, it's just like that's. I want to talk to somebody and see, see if it's a good fit for me to work with them. You know, but
yeah, you got
I
to
love to
have your
work with people.
chemistry.
I like to, that's the main thing. Is to get people kind of in the thing when so they're not just like standing there cheesing. Nobody likes a picture like that. Nobody likes a picture like that. It's like, what do you want this picture to do for you? What do what's your goal? We'll
Yeah,
make it happen.
got to have clear goals, man. I think that's
Yep,
important. Dude, well, thank you for jumping on here with me. I appreciate you.
absolutely.
Um,
Thank you.
everybody has contact from information. They can reach you on the Instagram or let's see, or one of the two Instagrams. The YouTube channel. You got the so what are the YouTube channels that you have? Is it just Mentor the Beast or is it
Yeah,
the
just Mentor the Beast. Right now, it's just Mentor the Beast again. I'll have that really kind of back rocking and rolling in the next couple of weeks.
cool? Roger
As
that.
soon as I get this house finished up.
Sweet man. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Um, thank you, man. I'm gonna cut it
Yeah,
right about
absolutely.
here, bro. Thank you
Anytime.
again.
Later.
Out.